أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Today's honorable speaker, the committee members of the organizing committee, and dearest students and teachers who are the main audience of today's program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am welcoming you all in today's session. Today, we are going to organize a workshop for the students and teachers who are interested to join here. It is on online education, academic writing, and publication. Before going to start the program, I would like to introduce our department, that is the Directorate of Research and Publications. This department is launched to support all of the staff, either the academic or non-academic, and all the students of IOU in regard the research and publication of their work. So it is our routine work to organize some training sessions, some workshops, some symposiums, conferences that will help you to enhance your capacity in terms of conducting research, academic writing, and get your work published. So as a part of that one, today we have a session or workshop to train up you or to provide you some guidelines how you will be active and fruitful in online education where your teachers are not with you. And here, I'm sorry that you can hear a sound of Adhan. That is the muezzin. He is calling for praying salah. Alhamdulillah, I will say we are fortunate enough that we can hear the sound. There are many places where we can't. So for a time being, I can stop.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear students, dear Dr. Afroza, thank you very much for inviting me today.
Okay, sister, let me introduce you after Azan, okay? Dear students, okay, I was stopping. I was just hearing the Azan first. Okay. So let me introduce our today's speaker. She is well-known, most of you, the students who are under the Department of Psychology, you know her better. And the other students and teachers who are not in the psychology department, but other departments. So it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Francesca Bocca. She is a very good researcher and very knowledgeable scholar. She is the head of the Department of Psychology as well. She is an associate professor and she had many publications, including books, journal articles, and many others. And here you are fortunate enough that you have Dr. Francesca Bocca, who is going to deliver you regarding academic writing. How you can write the report, assignments, or your research paper that will help you to have a very good score in your academic life and also will help you to get your research article published that will be helpful for you to be a future researcher, inshallah. So I will request all of you to be very attentive and very patient to hear her and grasp as much as you can, I will say. And at the end of the session, you will have an opportunity to ask some questions to her, and she will answer to your questions. And through this way, I hope you will be able to enrich your knowledge as well, and you will be able to be qualified to have a very good score in your exams, inshallah. So I am welcoming Dr. Francesca Bocca to deliver your valuable speech, and I will also invite all of the students who have already joined and who will join in future. So most welcome all of you, and I wish the best success of today's program, inshallah. So Dr. Francesca Bocca.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Afroza. Thank you for the introduction. Welcome to all of you, to the organizing committee and to the students today. So what we're doing today is in the context of a workshop. So the knowledge we should try to convey to you should be as practical as possible. So what I am requesting is for you to pay special attention to how does this information apply to your writing, to your thesis, your assignment, and to ask the questions that might be helpful for you. So I will try to keep my theoretical part as short as possible to leave space for the question. So please try to really make the best use out of the time. So today's talk has to do with how to write assignments and thesis. And this is one part that is very important in your online education, because it is where your learning, which happens online between you and the computer screen, becomes something that we as teachers, as the university, can appreciate and can see and evaluate. It is your real interaction with the faculty. And for some of you, the thesis can also be the end of the study. So it is their introduction to the professional or academic world. So this is a crucial part of your online education journey. As Dr. Afroza has said, she's trying to organize these workshops to improve the quality of research and publications here at IOU, and she's doing really a great work in this regard, mashallah. I remind all of you that we are also, as IOU, organizing our first conference, which Dr. Afroza has been actually thinking from the bottom up. And this will be a way for you to showcase your ability to write academically. But mainly, your academic tasks in IOU will have to do with writing assignments and writing thesis. These are sort of training grounds for you. But since we're an Islamic university, then the first thing we might think about is how does our writing assignments and thesis differ if we are an Islamic institution? And an answer to this is given, in my opinion, by a great scholar of the Islamic tradition, who is Ibn al-Haytham, who, when discussing the work of reading literature, which is crucial in academic writing, said that the duty of the man who investigates the writing of scientists, if learning the truth is his goal, is to make himself an enemy to all that it reads, and applying his mind to the core and margins of its content, attack it from every side. He should also suspect himself as he performs his critical examination of it, so that he may avoid falling into either prejudice or leniency. So what we want to develop, even before you start writing, is your ability of critical analysis of the material that you are studying. You should read a lot if you want to write well in academia. You should read a lot of things that you will not even end up citing, but these things will help you develop your own theoretical position to think of new solutions, of new methods for your own work. So if we want to conduct, of course, Islamic research, we need to have Islamic ethics. And this is more important for thesis because many times in assignments, until now, you have not been asked to do anything that requires an ethical clearance. It might change in the future because, for example, in psychology, we're thinking of starting some practical courses in which, for example, you will deal with patients, you will do counseling, and in this case, clearance of ethics is necessary. But in general, we should remember that as Muslims, Islamic ethics is something that is strongly grounded in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So we should always have a moral approach to what we do in research. At IOU, we have tried to prepare some material to support you in your writing. And there is a book that I have co-authored together with our Vice Chancellor, Professor Ahsan and Dr. Akhtar, which is titled Writing Thesis and Academic Articles. To those of you who are, for example, in the master's thesis course, this book is available to you automatically. For the others, it might be useful to download it. In the writing of thesis and academic articles book, there are many topics that we talk about. I'm just showing you the table of content to learn what are some aspects that are important in this field. First of all, the origin of research and the Islamic faith, the basis of research, because as all types of trades and jobs, research is something that you learn about. So constructing the conceptual base of a thesis. This is also very important. Sometimes we see theses at IU where the literature review is just a list of papers that have been published in the field, and it just says, this author said this, that author said that, but there is no framework which is putting this together. Your use of literature is only as good as it relates to the topic of your thesis, to your research questions, and as much as you can relate it to what you're doing. At a university level, we do not evaluate assignments and thesis depending on how much you have read, because we give for granted that you have read a lot. The difference it makes is how much you're able to use this reading you do, this learning that you do, and to apply it to the problems that you have in front of you. Then, of course, referencing and citation. At IOU, we tend to use APA style, which is one of the different styles of citation. And it is important to be coherent because reviewers of your assignments, teachers, will look at how coherent the style even is of your assignments. Is the font coherent? Are the headings put in a uniform way? And then we talk about publishing. Publishing is very important, and this is the key of what the Department of Research and Publication is being doing, is the fact that if you do not publish your thesis, nobody will know about it. And you might have done some work which is potentially very beneficial, but nobody will benefit from it if nobody can read it, can access it. So publishing your work is actually, I would say, if you're doing any work which is experimental, it is necessary. Otherwise, is like leaving a work half done. But let's go in order. Let's start from saying a few things about writing assignments and then about writing the thesis. Writing assignments is something we have done other trainings about. There is this one, but there is also another one. So if you look at the International Open Universities channel and you look for assignment preparation and assignment writing, you can find other videos if you're more interested in this topic. But in general, what I propose to my students and what I teach in this workshop and seminars is a 3-step method for writing assignments, which works also if you're a complete beginner. Just to organize, to read, and then to write. Organizing means that you generally start writing an assignment after you have watched, let's say, half a module or a third of a module. So you should first of all recap. And recap means getting back to all the material, read all the PDFs that are listed together with the videos, and start understanding. Making, for example, a mind map is a great way to organize your thoughts of topics that relate to the assignment question. This is also a skill which might come up really handy in your thesis, to do mind maps and to organize your knowledge. Second step is to read. And how then you read? I mean, you have, of course, to read articles related to the topic, which you find in the IOU library, mainly preferably, or through other acceptable sources, for example, Google Scholar. Please remember that since this is a university assignment, you cannot use college level references such as popular websites, YouTube videos, Wikipedia articles. And once you have found enough material and you have read it, try always to ask yourself, what is the connection between what I'm reading now and the question of the assignment? What is the connection between this and the contents of the course? What is the connection between this and Islamic knowledge? Understanding is all about connections, like it works in our brain through synapses that connect different neurons. The same way, your knowledge is only as useful as it can help you connect with the topic of the assignment, with Islamic knowledge and what you want to state. Please remember, there are banned websites that you cannot use, and usually at the psychology faculty, at least, we provide you with a list for your assignments. Other departments might do things differently, but in general, no YouTube, no Wikipedia, no popular websites, only academic sources are acceptable. And then you're right, the usual format is 1,000 to 1,200 words. You generally should order this well, write down section names, then you make a paragraph for each idea, and then with time you develop it. It should not be something that you write first time you try all the paper down, but it's something that develops with time. So the structure of a research paper, usually differently than an assignment, is a little bit different. It requires a specific introduction, literature review, discussion, references, and appendices. This is a bit more similar to a thesis. Please, at IOU, always check the specific requirements for each course, because when you download the assignment, you will open it and you will see what number of words, what section, what divisions we will require for that particular course. As for referencing, please remember that you should use possibly APA style. Some departments, this is obligatory. And this means that when you're talking about something and you refer to literature, you should open the parentheses and write the surname of the author, comma, the year in which it has been published. And if you want, you can add the page number. If it's a direct quotation, you must add the page number. If it is a generic point of the article, you do not have to. So how do you select the material that you need? So keep in mind that detail is only useful if needed. So if you have found a specific study which finds that there is, let's say, a connection between religiosity and depression, please do not quote the details of their method, how many participants they use, and so on and so forth, unless you need to make the point for some reason. For example, it was a sample which was too small, so we cannot trust it. In that case, sample size becomes interesting. Or the statistics they run were not appropriate. In that case, the statistics type becomes interesting. Do not just put details to show that you have read and understood the article. In general, only quote and select material for your assignment if its main finding is directly related to the question, not tangentially. There are so many publications that have something to do with what you're doing. You have to select only what is directly relevant. And also remember the issue of plagiarism. Plagiarism is copying the work of others without providing the credit. So if you're saying something which you took from a book, no problem, just put quotation marks and then cite it. If you're doing an indirect quotation, meaning you're paraphrasing what has been said in a published source, please cite it anyway. Otherwise, these things would count as plagiarism. We do not want you to be able to write everything by yourself. And actually, the fact that you cite, that you quote different sources is something good for us. So please always cite, quote the work of others. Let's spend some more minutes, last 10 minutes, inshallah, on writing a thesis. Writing a thesis is a bit of a different work than writing the assignment, because you generally have two streams, two ways to do this. There are two types of thesis, two categories. One which is the compilation thesis, and the other which is the experimental thesis. What's the difference between them? Well, compilation thesis is something where you're making the point of a literature topic. So you're gathering together, let's say, all the works that have been written on psychology of family on an Islamic perspective. And you just make a point that the majority of these have found something, and therefore this is better. So it's generally faster than running your own study. It has less statistics involved. However, for example, at the Department of Psychology, we do not encourage students to write a compilation thesis. It is almost obligatory to write an experimental thesis. This is because it has several advantages. The first is that it is more prestigious for you. So in your career, having done an experimental thesis would be better. It is easier to publish. Actually, it's almost impossible to publish a compilation thesis. An experimental one is very easy because it finds some new results and will help your future career. Also, if you do an experimental thesis, this will show that you have understood what was taught to you in the research and statistics courses. So how do you start with writing a thesis? The first ground that you build your work on is the conceptual base. And in the conceptual base, you're asking yourself questions like, what is a theory? Why do we need a theory? When you start the first time with these questions, it might seem too much, but if you think about it, a theory is actually a way of understanding the data. Theories must be introduced and discussed in your thesis. You cannot do a thesis that does not have any theoretical relevance or that does not discuss any theory. In experimental theories, however, theories can be falsified, which means that you can take a theory which is well developed, well used in your field, and show them wrong. And this, of course, takes time, usually in the scientific community, to be accepted. But what is very interesting of research is that if you think well an experiment, you can actually find a way to change the way a discipline is perceived and is organized. How do you use the theory in your research? The main way you apply a theory to research is to formulate research questions and the sub-questions. A research question is a way to make the theory concrete to your specific field and your specific aspect of research, where you try to provide different explanations. This is what is technically called the null hypothesis, but if you're in some department where research is very important, this will be taught to you in your research methods course. Once you have found the way you stand compared to a theory and the way you want to discuss this theory or even prove them wrong or support them, you can think of relevant books or journals, articles that can support you. And then find even more theories. There doesn't need to be only one. They are either in favor or against your argument. For experimental thesis, next chapter up is methods. Methods usually details the procedures of your experiment. And the method chapter can be either qualitative or quantitative. If your research is qualitative, it is generally something like an interview where you're talking to people quite freely. For example, let's say you're interested in mental health as it is perceived in the Muslim community in your specific city. Then you interview different people and you see what are the main topics they talk about. You ask them open questions. While on the other hand, a quantitative way to approach this would be to make a questionnaire, which has, let's say, 30 questions that they can answer to, let's say, from 1 to 5, how much do you agree with this? And then they respond. And this is, of course, quantitative. You need more participants to run this type of study. And usually this has a higher value of the results because there is much less discussion going on. While in qualitative research, sometimes it really depends on the skills of the experimenter, how much the results are valuable. And then you should write the discussion. The discussion includes meaning, importance, and relevance of the results. And the discussion provides answers to some questions. First, how do my results relate to my literature review and introduction? This is a mistake that I see students at IUU doing all the time. So please be aware of this. Sometimes you write a discussion and it has nothing in common with the literature review or the introduction. A discussion should actually take back point by point the points you made in the introduction, the points you made in the literature research, and see how do your data either agree or disagree with them or provide a new explanation that these theories were not able to tackle before. Then, how do my results respond to my research questions, of course? Because as you remember, you elaborated a null hypothesis. Let's say there is no relation to religiosity and food disorders, eating disorders. And then you have to say, well, was that the case or was it not, and why? And finally, how do I systematize the literature I gathered from the literature review chapter? Now in the discussion, you say, well, before things were thought in a way, but now our data supports more a different position. And then finally, you have the conclusion. The conclusion summarizes the whole process, highlights the impact and importance of results, and most importantly, is realistic about limitations. Many times I do not see any limitation discussed in students' thesis. This is actually strange because being able to think about limitations of one's own study shows that you have really mastered that discipline. And it sets a way for future developments in theory and future empirical studies. So last but not least, part of a thesis and part of an article, so if you want to publish your thesis afterwards, is the abstract. The abstract is actually at the very beginning of the thesis, but I believe it should be written last. So at the very end, once you finish your conclusion, you start writing the abstract. And this is because it should mirror the structure of the whole thesis. Generally, one sentence per chapter. So you write a sentence about the introduction, a sentence about the literature review methods, results, discussion. This is a balanced and well thought of abstract. No details at all are required here, just a brief description of the method. No citations unless they're really central to the thesis. So in the abstract, you put a citation if the main point of your thesis is to discuss one specific book, one specific theory. Otherwise, if it takes many theories, many points into account, no citations are required. And the last sentence of the abstract should be about the impact, the importance of your work, not its limitations. So Then once you have finished your thesis, and inshallah, we wish you all to write a very good thesis, which gets a very good mark. The point is, why should you publish? Why don't you just get a good grade and forget about it? Usually you arrive at the point of writing the thesis very tired, and I know that, I appreciate that. Why to go that extra mile? The benefits are many, and I think you will hear much more about this in the next day's workshops. And all of these benefits should contribute in your choice of publishing it. Writing your thesis will give you academic recognition. So if you want to do the academic path and then become a researcher or a professor, you must publish, of course. It gives you self-satisfaction because it will not feel like you have done some useless work, but this will bring the work on and it will give it new life. It will help you advance in your career. And sometimes the possibility of obtaining a scholarship in a research area depends on you having published or presented at a conference your results. Also, as Muslims, we should never forget that the best work is the work that is beneficial. So why to write a thesis, why to do a study and then keep it in your drawer and nobody can benefit about it? The whole point of Islamic knowledge is knowledge that has benefit. So if you have the possibility of influencing a particular circle, bringing about a positive change as Muslims, you should do it. As types of publications that you can choose, usually the most common is research papers, and the one that I advise to you if you have written a thesis on a topic, which can be journal article, conference papers, chapters in a book. This is a shorter form, and it more or less is a summary of your thesis. If you are in the Department of Psychology, we already ask you to write your thesis in a research paper format. So it's basically ready to go, to be published. For books, it's a longer story, but if you have found something which is really valuable, something which is really new, sometimes it's really worth publishing it in a book. In general, you have to do some work after you've done the thesis to restructure it. So for example, you can find a specific journal that you're interested in. For example, the Journal of Integrated Sciences, which just very recently came up, the last number, which Dr. Afroza has curated from the very beginning. This is from IOU, so it's sort of parallel journal to our university, is the best place to publish. And for psychology students, your thesis is already in the format required by the Journal of Integrated Sciences, so you can directly submit it there. In general, you can find any journal that you're interested in and check the For Authors section and just follow the guidelines. The thing you have to focus on most when you write an academic article is the methods and the impact of results. But the methods is the first thing everybody reads. If the method is sound, the article has a chance. Otherwise, it's discarded at the very beginning. So please put less emphasis on literature compared to a thesis, more methods and discussion, and impact of results, less on literature. Afterwards, once you have written the article, it will go through double-blind peer review. This is a requirement for all academic publications. And this means that there are two people who are specialists in this area who will read your article and make notes, and you will not know who they are, and they will not know who you are. So it's double-blind. Nobody knows who's the author to avoid some favoritism. And you will receive these notes. If they're positive and they say make a few adjustments and this can be published, okay, otherwise they might reject your paper. The more high-end the journal is, the harder it is to get accepted by double-blind peer review. Okay, so I tried to cover many topics in this presentation, and I hope they were beneficial for you. What I would like to do in the rest of the time that remains until we reach the hour is to talk about your Q&A. I would like you to ask questions, possibly questions that are related to what we talk about, and where the key is academic writing. So please do not forget that we are inside a workshop, which is about online education, academic writing, and publication. So please write your questions, and I will do my best to bring out most of them and discuss them, inshallah. So Maymuna is asking, for psychology first semester assignments, must all courses be done following the APA style, or could just follow the instruction given in the assignment question document? All courses assignments must be in APA style when they quote. And this is a guideline which is in all assignments and in all courses and even in your thesis. So what is the least amount of reference we can give? It depends on the assignments. For very introductory courses, sometimes I'm not asking for any. If it's something that you have to think about and provide your own opinion, it is not always necessary. Most courses is at least 2, but you have to read that in the assignment question, where we say if there is a minimum number, then you are given that number. So is the bibliography compulsory even after doing in-text citation? Yes. In-text citations work together with the bibliography. So in the text, after each sentence that relates to a specific publication, you have the short form where it just says the surname of the author, year of publication, and page. But to get all the information, you have to go at the end of the article where there is the bibliography and you have the extended version of that. Abdul Mu'min writes, Quran verses must quote in Arabic and English simultaneously. It is preferred if you write them in English and you refer to the translation that has been written, or you can write them in both languages and put just verse number and chapter number. This is up to you. The same for hadith. You do not have to quote them in APA style. You can open the parentheses and write the collection from which it belongs and the number. Fazal, how do we write the reference for Quran and Hadith on reference page? You do not have to put them in bibliography unless the translation of the Quran, you are using a specific translation, then you have to quote that. So the Quran just goes with the surah number and verse number. The Hadith goes with collection number, collection name and number. Halima, how to do formatting and grammar errors. For assignments, if you need some formatting, it is written in the assignment. For the thesis, we have specific guidelines in each department. Formatting generally is about the font, generally Times New Roman. Headings formatting changes depending on the department, but you will be given an info pack when you are on the thesis course, which will contain this source of information. Concerning grammar errors, you will have to check them yourself. In assignments, we do not grade your assignment depending on grammar errors, but it must be comprehensible. If we cannot understand what is written, if the level of English is so low, we cannot really get the point, then we will bring down the mark, of course. Mamadou, should we write a headline in our assignment? It is generally not requested, but if you want to write section names, you can do so. If you want to write a title, you can do so. But generally, it is just basically the assignment is the answer to the question we have asked you. So an answer to a question usually does not require a title. Abdul Karim, is there any program or site to test assignment or thesis for plagiarism before submitting it? There are some, there is a very site, if you check for online plagiarism, you find some free tools. However, please be sure that if you have not plagiarized, the score will not go up, and we will look into thesis that even when they have a high plagiarism score to find out why did that happen. And we can see whether it is just a mistake in the system or if you have plagiarized. So do not worry about that. If you have not plagiarized, there is no reason to worry or to check that. Fina, what should we name the title of our assignment if it has more than one question? So if the assignment is in the form of asking, let's say, 5 questions and wanting you to answer, you can just refer to the question by their number or in the way that the teacher of the course has referred to them. That is the best way, without titles in general. Hasiba, could you provide a sample paper or a prepared assignment? No, there is a reason why we do not do that. And the reason is that the topics between departments can change a lot. And if we give you a sample and that sample is different from what you're doing at that point, you could get the wrong impression. Plus, there is not a perfect paper or assignment that we can give you as an example. And by copying it, you will not get any benefit. So if the idea is just to write a good assignment, then the best thing to do is to follow the guidelines we have highlighted today. They are very simple. To write 1,000 to 1,200 words using this system is really easy. And if you have studied the first 15 modules when you started, you will have the necessary knowledge to evaluate it and to know if what you have written is valuable or not. Mamadou asks, do references and bibliography count with 1,200 words? No, in general, it is 1,200 words, excluding bibliography, unless otherwise stated in your assignment word. It's just the body of work has to be 1,000 to 1,200 words. Okay, there are no more questions for the moment, so I'll just wait a minute. If no other questions comes up, I will kindly request Dr. Afroza if she wants to elaborate more or to say something as a conclusion. I got one question. Is there a template for us to use when doing assignments or the thesis? For assignments, no, there's no template. For the thesis, there's a template for title page, template for ethics form, but you will find everything in the course page because has a difference between departments. So I did not talk about it, not to confuse you. Okay, if Dr. Afroza would like to close the session of today.
Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu Fik, Sister Francesca, for your very nice and resourceful presentation. And I hope the students who have participated at today's workshop, obviously they got a very clear idea about the writing, especially the assignment and article or research report writing. And definitely because the assignment and the writing is integral part in online education. So our students, I will request all of you to be self-motivated, because your teachers are not always with you. They are not monitoring you, but you are the monitor. You are the organizer of your student life. So it is your responsibility to be more active and to be more punctual and very careful about the deadline of any assignment or any session that is scheduled. So you should be very punctual. And regarding the plagiarism, because it is open for all of you, so there is a possibility of plagiarism. So you are requested to check it very carefully. Paraphrasing this one, you can easily avoid the plagiarism. So you will have to increase your vocabulary. That will help you to paraphrase so that you can easily avoid the plagiarism from your writing. And I will also request all of you, the students, dear students, again, I am requesting you to be self-motivated. Nobody will instruct you, nobody will motivate you, but you yourself, you will motivate yourself for self-study. It is the main stream, I will say, for online education. If it is on site, then your teachers are there and they can easily guide you, monitor you. But here, nobody is with you. You are with you. So you are the architect of your own future. Your teachers, what can they do? If you ask any question, if you raise any points, then they can provide you some solution and they can make you understand that topic. That's all, nothing else. So it is you. And the assignment and report writing and thesis, all of these reports that will help you to increase your grade. And today's session, it is solely for you to upgrade your capacity, how you can produce your academic article or academic writing, either it is assignment or research paper or book or booklet, that types that our professor, she has very clearly mentioned what would be the types of publication. So whatever you want, you may choose for yourself and you can produce. So it is our expectation that from you, we will get a number of articles, because we have platforms. Definitely, you know, we have Insight magazine where you can submit your short articles regarding any issue in our social life, in your personal life, anything. And we have a journal that is the integrated Journal of Integrated Sciences. So here you all are requested to submit your very good research articles that if we are able to publish your work, that we will be more happy, inshallah. And our website, you can easily visit our publication, research and publication. There you can get the journal web page and the guidelines are there. So you can easily get guidelines, templates, everything is there. So I will request you to visit our journal page so that you can get your idea and you can make your paper ready to get published in our journal, inshallah. And if you are interested, your research work, you want to convert it into any booklet or any book, then it is also possible. It is also possible there and guidelines are there. So I will request you to visit our webpage. And regarding the research, regarding the assignment writing, regarding report writing, a lot of materials are available on our webpage. So please visit our webpage, and there is one book written by also with other co-authors, Dr. Francesca Bocca. She has a very good book. It is also available on our webpage. It is free for you. So you can visit that book also. It will also help you step by step how you can produce your academic writing. So all the best. And again, I will like to congratulate all of you for attending in today's session and make this session very fruitful and live. So thank you very much. And I hope tomorrow and day after tomorrow we have some more sessions. I will request all of you to actively participate and invite all other friends, whoever you know. So convey the message so that they can join the workshop and they can increase their level of knowledge from these workshops, inshallah. So Jazakallahu khairan. Last of all, I want to convey a very, very heartfelt thanks to our organizing team who have organized this session and make it live and available for all of our students for their access. And it is recorded. If anyone want to visit this one later on, then they can easily listen this recording, inshallah. Okay, so last of all, again, I am thanking all of you for attending the session and welcoming and inviting to join in our next or future session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.